Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. To follow us on Instagram, go to No Name Music Cast Podcast. To send us an email, it's nonamemusiccast@gmail.com. And to visit our website, go to nonamemusiccast.com. Now, on with the show. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And Joy and I have had a very passionate conversation this evening, and we are ready to record a podcast for your listening ears.
We do. And what's fun about this is I told Tim today, I said, give your music news. We got to go straight into this episode because this episode is a fun one, but it's a very detailed one. So I don't want to spend too much time in the opening, as we sometimes do, I think. With that being said, Tim, what do you have to tell the people?
Okay, so I am resurrecting once again CD of the week. Will it show up? There it is, CD of the week. And this is a great CD. Now, we've covered this artist once before. This is Chuck Mangione. And this is his live album, Live at the Hollywood Bowl. Now, I do have a CD copy of his album, Feels So Good. And that is real thrift shop fodder. I mean, you can go to up to a few years ago, you could find that on record in almost any thrift shop. But I was in a thrift shop a number of years ago, and they had a live album, this one, Live at the Hollywood Bowl. And I thought, well, I enjoyed his other album. Maybe I would get this. This is absolutely fantastic. This is Live at the Hollywood Bowl. His band is great. And there's got the little book in there that says all about the concert. And it's just... It was recorded in the 70s, and it's just a sort of a statement, if you will, of a different time. And it's just such good listening. It's like horn music, but it's great.
Also has a really cool album art picture. I'm looking at it right now because Tim is basically holding up this audio podcast for like 70% of the listeners. Unless you're on the different app. I mean, actually 90. No, all the listeners, because we don't put the actual... Unless Tim snips this and puts it somewhere. But with that being said, I don't know why I said that. Like it's not 100% an audio podcast. It has a very cool little album art situation I'm seeing in front of Tim right now. I mean, Chuck Berry, I've never even heard that term till Tim put me onto it, right, Tim? But I will say, I would just looking at that, I would definitely buy this album and or look at it. I don't know why. It's a very cool looking album.
Yeah, it is cool. So in the background, you have the Hollywood Bowl itself. On the back, there you have Chuck Mangione sort of running off stage. There he is. It looks
like a ghost, which is giving me ghost vibes. I don't know why it looks very ghosty. That could be the situation in which I'm looking at this through a Zoom. If nobody has never figured this out, me and Tim are not physically in the room together when we do this. But also the red around it makes me feel... Okay, I'm not gonna lie, Tim. I like the red on the front when he's on the trumpet, right? Flip it over though, and it's giving Jesus in that white outfit with the red background. So I don't know how I feel about this. I might have went different with this album cover art.
Well, there we are. Well, I would recommend, if you see it in a thrift shop, you buy it, or you can go on the Spotify, the YouTube, or the Apple Music, but you won't have to see the ghostly apparition on the back.
What? I feel like we gave them everything but nothing in the last 5 minutes. Okay, well, what an episode, Tim.
Yeah, well, I would recommend you listen to the version of Feels So Good on here, because there's actually a reprise version at the end. We opened the concert with it, and he ends the concert with it. And at the end of the concert, you can tell he's a little bit out of steam for playing his horn all night. And I don't know, just it has a real realism about it. But this is highly recommended. Pull it up on a streaming service. You won't have to deal with the ghostly apparition on the back, or buy the CD from Discogs like I did. and thank me later after you've listened to it.
It's 30% of this episode, Tim reminding me, or no, this podcast, Tim reminding me this is a music podcast and not me just judging things. Probably. But to be honest with you, yes, it looks great. But I will say that was a little creepy on the background. It was giving me some vibes. All right, Tim, did you have anything else before we get into the topic?
No, that's all I have for this evening.
All right. Well, I was going to do a little bit of opening, but I just don't even think it's necessary. This could be a weird episode because what I did was, and I spent a lot of time on this, because I thought it'd be fun to give Tim some trivia, but not like the most obvious, oh, what's this song that I'm singing, like Madonna, whatever, and Tim knows it in 30 seconds, right, Tim? Like our and I wanted to play a little bit into this. So this is a little bit of a trivia level episode. What I found it to be was like a music encyclopedia. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. But Tim is a music encyclopedia, so you have to really be careful with this. Though I will say, in true fashion, the one time I got Tim was the CBGB. Remember the bluegrass, whatever? Yeah. And I was like, I did know that one. That's the only time in life that I think I've been Tim for like 30 seconds. And then somehow he looked cool. He's got a British voice, something. I don't know. Plays a guitar. Is that not what all the cool guys do? They have a British voice and they play the guitar. Is that like the rule?
Well, so I understand. I mean, I've lived with that for a number of years, but I understand it could be considered cool.
Has it gotten anything cool as any money or anything come to you?
It gets me about $100 when I go and play a gig on a weekend. That's about it.
It doesn't sound that cool. I'm just joking, by the way. I'm judging Tim because the funny thing is when you're in a band, Tim will say everybody's like the guitarist is the lead singer, right? The lead singer gets all the money anyway. Nobody pays any attention to us, and it's like lead singer, guitarist, bassist, drummer, right? I feel like that's kind of like the hierarchy, unless I'm wrong.
I think it's normally the lead singer and the lead guitar player. That's normally your focal point of your band.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes those are the same people.
Sometimes.
It's true. All right. So with that being said, I did a little bit of I was like, this sounds like a fun episode. I wanted to do something where we could play trivia, but it's hard to play trivia with Tim because Tim knows everything. So I really put in work into this one. And I may have used the interwebs and the AIs and all the things. So with that being said, take this, Tim, whatever you want. You can call it the pro level music trivia. I don't know. Tim's good at I don't ever actually pay attention to what Tim names these episodes because I don't do it. With that being said, we're going to start right here. I'm going to ask Tim a question. And the fun part is I want to pause because I would love the audience. Because what I really like when I watch these trivia or music or whatever, I like to play along with them, Tim. So I'd like to give the audience the time to play along because I find that fun. So with that being said, Tim, bam, 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 you're being put on spot. Joy did not know any of these answers before she did this. Shocker. But what legendary 70s rock band released 3 consecutive albums that failed to chart? To the point that the label was about to drop them before their breakout album was alive.
I'd probably say REO Speedwagon.
You're incorrect. Bam, bam, bam. I'll give you one more.
Foreigner.
Incorrect. Do you want to know what the answer is?
Yes.
There is a key there. It's Kiss.
Yeah,
Alive.
Kiss Alive launched them, but also the first 3 REO Speedwagon or first few REO Speedwagon albums didn't chart very well. And also, I think the first Foreigner album didn't do too well either.
I know. You're probably right on that. It was just funny because I was trying to get a hit with the Alive. Tim knows so much more than I will. By the way, this is not to say Tim doesn't know any more than I ever did. It's just fun. It's just fun. Don't take it seriously. Tim will always know more about music than I probably ever will. So with that being said, we're moving on to the next one. Tim, are you ready?
Okay.
I feel like we need Jeopardy music. Can you put Jeopardy music?
Yeah, I need a sound effects panel for this podcast is what I need.
I know. We'll worry about that. We need more money. Y'all, if you keep listening, we might be able to get The thing is me and Tim have been offered. I don't know if Tim knows this because, like, I don't know if he's paid attention. I haven't really paid attention. We have gotten a few different offers from like people to like be sponsors and stuff like that. I don't really look at it because I don't know. The thing about it is what I really truly find about this podcast is we're not getting money off of it, and that's why I find it kind of weirdly authentic. I don't really care.
Well, it's very freeing because you don't have to behold to any sponsors. But if someone did want to put ads in this podcast, it would cover some of the costs at least.
It's like $16 a month if anybody was wondering. Comes out of Joy's credit card. Anyway, so with that being said, the rule of thumb, if you've not listened to this podcast enough before this, Tim does all the work. Joy just pays the bills.
Well, there you go.
Is that not the agreeal, Tim, we came to? When did we start this? Was it 2020?
Yeah, we've been doing it for 6 years. The agreement was you was going to host it, or pay for the hosting, and then I would mix it, and then I would upload it, and then I would put the stuff on Instagram and deal with all the technical side of it.
That was literally the agreeal. So for those who don't know where the podcast came from, is me and Tim worked together, and then we sat together, and we were one day I actually was very mean to Tim because he refused a microwave, and I was being, what do you mean you can't use a microwave? Hey, I saw Tim's little eyes, little beaters coming at me like, what are you talking about? Who are you? And then it was funny because then that became, we just sit there and we talked, and then we realized we were very much more similar, and I was just kind of like, be like, get together, Tim. But anyway, moral stories. That's how the podcast came to be. And then COVID happened, and we all had to sort of, I don't know, we didn't get like a full like lockdown situation. No, I will say I got sent home instantly because I worked in a situation where I was doing payroll and things of that nature, and I had to be, because if I went out, everybody went out, right, Tim?
Yeah.
But Tim had a very different situation. Also, me and Tim are hard to. I did work from home for like 3+ years, and I will say I'm actually happy to not work from home anymore. I don't truly. Okay, this is a question for the podcast, Tim. I do like working from home for a lot of things, but sometimes it is not my favorite.
It depends on the job. I couldn't do my job effectively from home. I can do 40% of my job effectively from home.
Yeah. My current job, I can't. My previous job, I absolutely could do 100%, but sometimes I will say there is something mind-numbing or melting when you work from home. Regardless of what anybody says, I just struggle with that. Maybe it's just because I enjoy people's communication and I was just talking to Tim about, like, I really do enjoy my staff that I work with every day. Sure. Whether it's good or for bad. And that's not the, but anyway, that's not the point of this podcast. So that's what started this podcast. Moral story is, let's get back to the actual episode. Wow, shocker that we get distracted. Hey, Tim, is this a music podcast, or is it like a 20% music podcast?
It's loosely a music podcast. I believe that's the framework we work within. However, it's famous for going off the rails almost all the time.
Stevie Nicks. All right, somebody will get that. All right, so with that being said, we're going to ask him a question. We'll see if he knows the answer. It's okay if he doesn't, guys. These were a little bit harder, and I did that on purpose because if I give Tim the most obvious, who's saying, I don't know, let's hear it for the boy. Tim's going to get that in 5 seconds.
Denise Williams, 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to get that. So I tried to make these more complicated. With that being said, I don't know why that was the first song I went with, Tim. Why did my brain go straight to that? It's because I love Footloose, probably. With that being said, in 1989, the Grammy for Best Hard Rock and Metal Performance famously went to Jethro Tull instead of Metallica. But here's the trivia. What was the actual instrument that defined Jethro Tull's sound, which led the running joke to Metallica lost to a...
It's a flute.
It is a flute! Baby, got it!
Yeah, Ian Anderson, who's the lead singer of Jethro Tull, famously played a flute in Jethro Tull. The guitar player from Jethro Tull is Martin Barr. And Martin
Barr... That's why
Barr
I have to give him these questions, because they're so
Martin
weird.
Barr tours playing the Jethro Tull music, especially the album Aqualung. And I saw that concert at the Harvester in Rocky Mount, and my friend Darby Todd, who's someone I knew from the West London Twickenham jamming scene, actually was playing drums with Martin Barr, and he got me like front row tickets for free. It was absolutely fantastic.
This is why I have to do these weird questions because I truly thought Tim might know the basics, but it just kept going. There's so much there to unpack in that statement that you just made, Tim. And like, I feel like anytime I say something, it's not just like you know it, you know, like exponentially all the things around. That's where it gets funny. It's just so funny. But yes, so what I was going to go with the flute. So anyway, so yes, Metallica lost to a heavy metal flute. That's the joke, everybody. That's
and
the joke.
I would assume the album was what probably wasn't the Black Album. It was.
Sorry, I don't know that much. I didn't look that far into it.
89, maybe.
Tim, give it a Google log on air. Give it a Google log on air. You know more than I do.
Let's have a look.
No idea.
1980.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, for those who don't know, when I say give it a Google log on air, I've been using that for years. And the funny part is I have another podcast that I love that's like true crime podcast. And they say we give it a Goog. And it's become a thing.
Yeah, it was And Justice for All, the album which has one on it.
I would not know that, Tim. See, this is why I have to give him these weird questions. But the fun part is that you really did know that. I'm so happy. All right. This one is a guitarist-related one, so I feel like he's going to know it too. We'll see. So, we know Jimmy Page was, in fact, a session musician, right, Tim?
Yep.
But, of course, we got the 1960s, and things were happening. We got that fuzzy guitar grip. Did Jimmy Page claim he played on this song, though the band actually told him he did? Do you know what it was?
Yeah, it's You Really Got Me
What?
by the Kinks.
I want to scream. How do you know every single one? I didn't. All right, continue, Tim. How do you know this?
Dave Davies, the guitar player from the Kinks, he was looking for some kind of fuzzy, distorted guitar sound for the opening riff of You Really Got Me. And I think the engineer or the producer of the track booked Jimmy Page, and I think Jimmy Page plays on the single version, but he doesn't play on the album version or vice versa.
Yes, he did. I've seen that part, yes.
Yeah. But what he did is he had I think it was a Selmer amplifier, it may have been a Vox AC15 or a Selmer, I can't remember. And what he did is he had a pencil and he poked holes in the speaker cone all the way around. And then when he played his guitar through it, it created a very fuzzy fuzz tone sound. Now, this was before you could buy effects pedals that would give you every single sound that you'd ever wanted. Roger Mayer famously made those kind of pedals for Jimi Hendrix, but that happened very later on.
This might become the nerdiest episode we've ever done, and I did need for it too.
Yeah, so when he played the riff, You Really Got Me, and you hear that, gar, 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 and it has a fuzzy sound to it, it's because he's playing through a speaker which has pencil holes in it.
Oh, well, that sounded right. So basically, in the original, Dave Davies definitely played the sound, but Page played it is a myth. It's well longer in session history, so on and so forth. Exactly what Tim was saying. Just funny though, because I was like, I might find a way to no. This is why I have to. These were the obscure facts, everybody. If I did like the basic facts, like who sang True Lou, you know what I mean? Tim, like we'd be done in 5 minutes. Obviously, Madonna. But with that being said, I'm enjoying this because this is the fun. This is the fun of this episode because I did a lot of research, and I like the pause because I want to see. The point of this episode is for our listeners to guess before you get it, Tim.
Gotcha.
I hope. Let's see. I don't know. What are you going to call this episode, Tim? Who knows?
It's called The Masters of Music Trivia.
That sounds right. Sort of. All right. So, number 5. We're on number 5. The distortion, obviously, which Tim's going to know this. I don't even know why I think I'm going to throw this out there. He's not going to know it's a related distortion. It's literally what is. It's not kind of simple and right? But in 1951, what is widely considered the first distorted guitar riff happened because of a physical accident. What happened, Tim?
Okay, so this is the track.
Oh my God!
Rocket 88.
Ah!
And I forget the name of the guitar player, But the track is Rocket 88. I think it's Eddie Benton or something like that. But the track
It
is
is.
the track is Rocket 88. So the
Rocket
guy,
88 is what I kept saying, yeah.
yeah. So the guitar player who was booked on the session, he had a small Fender amplifier, and he drove to that session in the back of his pickup truck, placing the amplifier in the back of the pickup truck. He was driving down a bumpy road. The amplifier fell on its front, and when it fell on its front,
Burst in the speaker cone.
no. So all amplifiers up to that point, and even still to this day, you have vacuum tubes, valves, if you like, in the UK.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry
one-
I didn't get official here, Tim.
Yeah, and one of the valves, vacuum tubes, came loose in its socket when it fell over. So he got to the session, he plugged in, and he had this very distorted guitar sound. Now, it was the only piece of equipment he had. Sun didn't. It was recorded at Sun Studios in Memphis, and Sun didn't have anything else for him to plug into.
Had this level of detail to this weird, obscure. All right,
So
continue.
he played the session of Rocket 88 using this distorted guitar, and many people say that is the birth of rock music because it's the first time
What?
a sort of deliberately distorted guitar is featured on a music recording. Now that amplifier, the one that had the valve vacuum tube that fell out, is actually displayed at Sun Studios in Memphis. If you ever do the studio tour, they have it in a display case and speak of its reverence because of the fact it created the first distorted guitar sound on a recording.
There's so much to unpack there. First of all, Tim, how and why? Why do you know this? Like, no. All right. Anyway, so moral story of this podcast is I really tried to seek out some more random stuff than who sang True Blue. And Tim is, I knew as soon as it said distort, I was like, he's going to know. He's going to know. It sounds like guitar distortion is right up his alley. Now, what we could trip him out with is ask him who was the number one hit in 2025.
Oh, I have no idea.
Exactly. That's how we get
do
it.
they still release music? I have no idea.
Well, possibly, maybe. I don't know. And to be fair with you, I don't know either. The funny part is we're going to move on to this. And by the way, this is why I did this. So the idea is you guys answer, see if Tim can answer, and unfortunately, he always can. We'll see if we get it at some point in this episode.
Most of the time.
Do you remember the Going Green episode?
Yes, it was sort of green songs or green adjacent songs or green album covers or green people.
All right. They covered songs associated with the color green. One of the most obscure green tracks from the 1960s from a folk band singing Green Tambourine. Can you name the band?
Yeah.
Ba, 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 ba.
I know the song. I've got the song playing in my head right now, but I cannot remember the name of the artist. Who was it?
The Lemon Peppers.
Ah, that was it.
Or Pipers. I think it's Pipers.
I think it's the Lemon
Peppers.
Pipers.
It's Pipers. I said peppers because I like peppers because I like spicy stuff. But that's a debate for another time. With that being said, I have no idea what the song is, Tim. So I'm glad you knew what it was. Wait, is this the song I should know? Why does it go?
Yeah, it's a 60s song. In my green tambourine.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I heard the song. I don't think I would know who sang that. Did the Lemon Pipers sing anything else?
I think they're famous for having a green tambourine and not terribly famous for anything else. But mind you, if you have a fancy green tambourine, do you need to be famous for anything else?
I always think about this a lot, Tim, because I thought this logistically. If I were a musician, like who made it famous in the world, and I want to know what your thought is. If I had two good songs, I may just leave it there. Live off the royalties, enjoy myself, maybe be a session musician or like someone who pops up on like this MTV, VH1, whatever, and just ride it out. I don't know. Is that a weird statement? I've always thought about that.
Well, it depends. I mean, these days it would be very hard to live off just the royalties of two songs, even if it was a My Sharona or a track like that gets constantly used. The other thing is you tend to find with musicians, especially creative musicians, that they're artists. And they're always creating. I mean, I play mostly in covers bands, playing songs that I've played 1,000 times, but I enjoy everything about playing a gig, from loading the car to driving to the gig to really, as much as I complain about it, unloading, setting up, playing the gig,
It's all in that.
all the mechanics of it is something I really
I
enjoy. Because if I
know.
didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.
As someone who was in musical theater, I totally appreciate that because, like, I mean, I would sit and like have to be backstage, and we'd have these literal we called hell weeks, Tim, where we're just sitting there.
Mhm.
But that's part of the fun. That's part of what makes it what it is, as annoying as
Mm.
it is, and it gives you some camaraderie. Like this,
Yeah.
like I don't know how to explain it. There's some community in that. You're probably right, but I will say there is something to be said about these few bands right out there that, like, let's think like I don't know. Give me a one-hit wonder, Tim, off the top of your head. I don't literally
Well,
lost.
you like, for example, you said The Lion Sleeps Tonight. It was covered in the 80s by a band called Tight Fit.
It's
Like, they
true.
were never heard of ever again.
Yes, or I was thinking like anything from the 80s and 90s. There's so many one-hit wonders, right,
Tony
Tim?
Basil's Mickey.
Which controversially was another remake we could get that I get from all the time. But any type of one-hit wonders you can think off the top of your head, that you love. And like I kind of get it though. It almost feels like if you did a one hit, you make a good amount of money, then you just go off and live your life. It's not a bad gig. I kind of get how it could work because the thing about it is I can tell you right now, if I were a celebrity too, and they always talk about don't be, that you see celebrities who are kind of rude to their people or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And then they are upset or whatever. I can tell you right now, if you caught me on a bad day, Tim, and Tim will tell you this, Joy can be very blunt. And I probably would come off as like I don't appreciate my but the thing about it is like I'm just a human at my core, and I might not just be having a good day. And so I wonder if I just had like a one-hit wonder, right? Situation. Get it in, get it done, make a little bit of money. I'm a decent musician. I move on with my life, and I don't have to deal with all the, I don't know, the bells and whistles around being Beyonce or something, right?
Yeah, but I don't think your one hit is going to give you the fiscal freedom which you
Well,
desire.
I mean, I just take that money, I invest it, and then I do like a normal accounting job or something. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean,
And
yeah,
move on with my life.
you make I don't know $100,000 from a massive single that's number one and it's a one hit wonder. Yeah, but really, you can't live the rest of your life on that.
That's okay. Like I just go on and live like my 9 to 5 after that. I don't know. I feel like the other thing I also think though, truly, if I were like quality musician that people are seeking out for lack of like I think I'm a decent singer or something, but no one's seeking me out right to sing the backup vocals in their most recent album. Beyonce's not calling me if anybody didn't know that yet. With that being said, um, you know what I would do? I straight up think the best thing you can do is either be a backup vocalist or a session musician. I think the best gig in the world is to be a session musician. I've said this actively on air, and I think Tim would agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting paid a flat fee for your performance. You don't have to deal with the sort of the annoyances of fame. However, for it's a means to an end. You come in, you play, you get your money, you go. You're part of the creative process, but you will never get the credit for it.
But the thing about it is though, do I need? I don't know. But I will say, as someone who's been in musical theater for years, I do appreciate being on stage and getting the credit. There is something to say, and I've said this for years, and Tim will agree with you. Every person who performs on stage, if they're in musical theater, if they're a singer, if they're a guitarist, they're a drummer, we all are a little get arrogant.
Well, I think all of us have an ego to some degree. The fact that
Thank you.
you want to put yourself on a stage and effectively show off, and you want people to watch it, you have to have some kind of ego to do that.
And that doesn't even mean that it's a bad ego. It's just part of the game. If you don't have that, why are you there? Right,
Yeah,
Tim? As someone who's literally won 2 karaoke contests in her entire life, do you think I did that because I wanted, like, you know what I'm saying, Tim? Like, there's some ego there. There is. And I've joked about for many years, one of my party tricks is the fact that I can sing from beginning to end, like a concert. Like, I would not have to get into the details. You know what I'm saying, Tim? But, like, there's some ego in that, right?
sure.
For those who don't know, I can sing from beginning to end. What's that concert that Queen was in that everybody loves, Tim? As a joke. The one that everybody, the one where they sang too loud and everybody yelled at them. Well, I thought you were going to get the reference.
Well, Back to the Future.
No, Queen. I
Oh,
said, what's the concert that Queen sang into and they were too loud?
oh, well, Live Aid, where they crank the volume up.
Yes, Jesus. He didn't quite what I said. All right, this man can tell you every freaking guitar riff, but sometimes when I make a joke, he's not there.
There you go.
Sometimes I worry about you. All right, let's go back to the episode. We have not talked about the episode, and we're now 45 minutes in. All right. So, with that being said, I did a little bit of intro, asked him a few questions. He knew them all, was kind of disappointing. We're going to go into our previous episodes. I worked really hard on this, Tim, by the way. These are all related to previous episodes of this podcast.
Okay.
So, remember one hit wonders? We did that episode. We discovered one hit wonders actually, how much one hit wonders actually make. Shocker. Me and Tim spent a lot of time talking about this. Which 90s artists, we've talked about this one a lot. I'm not going to say what it says here because it's going to give you away, but it is very German, Eastern European pop music. There's a dance sometimes to it, Tim.
Okay.
Pulls the massive royalties due to its status, and it's used a lot in like sports.
Okay.
What do you think it is, Tim?
It's not the Macarena, is it?
It's not the Macarena, but you're on the right track.
Mambo number 5.
That's not really Eastern European. Think very Eastern European, Tim. If you're in an club.
Yeah, I was thinking does it have a line dance that goes with it?
Yes.
Hmm.
And it's not Cascadia. Like every time it's not that one. That's what we're going for.
I don't know, 90s. I mean, you're delving into an era where my music knowledge starts to fall off to some degree.
Oh, you know this one. It's Rednecks, Tim. Cotton Eye Joe.
Cotton Eye Joe. They're Swedish, though. They're not German.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think of everything when I just think every one of these songs is playing at Berlin at, I don't know. That's American racism probably, or prejudice or something. I don't know. But I just imagine an Uns club in Berlin playing this right now.
They probably would, but it's a Swedish act. That's what threw me off.
I don't know. I feel like every song that's uns, I think Eastern European, and that's probably American racism playing. Is it racism? Prejudice? I don't know. Why do we feel this way? Tim, you've lived in both sides of the world. Why do I feel this way?
Well, it's because when you live in the UK and when you live in Europe, all those countries are on your doorstep. So even if your media isn't directly influenced by those various countries, they're right there. And travel is very cheap and easy between European countries, and even like the UK to Scandinavia, UK to France, or something like that. When you live in the United States, it's a much bigger leap to go to Europe, and you find a lot of US culture and a lot of US things tends to be very closeted, to be US centric. So a lot of people in the US wouldn't necessarily know where these places are. And it actually speaks to the fact why a lot of American people don't even have passports.
Which is terrifying, but that's a debate for another time. And I try to do that because I have at least traveled outside of the United States. Me and Tim have talked about this in the podcast.
Yeah.
But it is very hard because sometimes I have this thing where, and it's specifically around like this 90s Eastern European kind of like cascading. Every time we touch, I get that kind of sound. I associate like Rednecks and all that. I don't know what it is. I have this thing in my brain where I feel like everybody in Berlin is listening to that music on repeat, and that's what they're doing with drugs, probably.
Very likely, certainly in the 80s.
I don't know. I'm American. We don't know anything. And it's not. And to be fair, Tim, would you say it's not 100%? That, I mean, there is some ignorance. I'm not going to lie and say it's not ignorant, but I also think it's just controversially where we live. Like, I don't know how to explain it.
If you lived in Los Angeles, you lived in Chicago, you lived in New York City, it's a lot more of a diverse population. It's a lot more of a diverse demographic. You're likely to be exposed to a lot more things than living in Southwest Virginia.
And I try my best. I really do. So, but there's just a weird thing. And it's probably, to be fair, though, on the flip side, I have seen that there's a very interesting thought process along a lot of people, what they think of like American proms and like all these weird things that they see in TV shows that
Yeah.
they associate with America. So I don't think it's necessarily one sided.
No, but you find that a lot of US culture has permeated into the UK and Europe. So things like proms now exist, and things like Halloween is now a thing. When I was
Yep.
growing up, when that you didn't have that
I've heard that's recently been a big thing.
Yeah, now you have the proliferation of American media and also the internet. People in the UK and Europe are a lot more exposed to that and are more aware of what that is.
And if you're Swedish, you just like seem to know everything and are really good at music and know what American culture is, but somehow you know European. I don't know. Swedes are really smart. That's what I've gotten from this podcast.
I've been to Sweden many times. I love the people of Sweden. It's a very nice country.
All right. So back to the podcast. So we're going to go back to our music. So, by the way, if you haven't picked up, these are all related to previous episodes of the podcast. I gave Tim a little intro, gave him a little like a little thing. Now we're going to the episode of the podcast, and I only picked episodes that were Tim's topics.
Okay.
I hope they picked up on that now. So, Power of Three, Tim. That was an episode you did.
Yep.
When discussing famous trios, we moved past Nirvana, Green Day. Which 80s pop trivia, I guess synth pop, whatever I'm going to call it, had a hit called The Promise, is often cited as a one-hit wonder, apparently, and it is now a deep track. But you apparently brought it up in the episode of The Power of Three. By the way, I know you brought it up in the episode. I want to know if you remember who they are.
And the track was called The Promise?
Promise? It's a one-hit wonder. You brought it up, Tim. I didn't know who they were.
I don't know.
I got him. When in Rome?
Oh, okay.
Tim doesn't remember either.
No, I mean,
You probably did research for the episode and have no clue what we're talking about. But anyway.
well, you sometimes you do the research for the episodes and it's tracks that you know, and then sometimes you're trying to come up with things just to say something a little bit different, just outside of the realm of stuff that you know intimately.
That was a little bit of a harder one, Tim. I wouldn't know who that it was. I'm not even calling you out. I just thought it's funny because I was like, when I did the synth one with the guitar, I was like, it's going to know this one. All right, Tim. Another episode, which I didn't even know you called an episode "Changing Singers Like Underwear."
Yeah,
I didn't
that
even
was
know
a
we had an
great that was a
episode
great
called that.
episode where bands had famously changed their singer at some point. Some of them multiple times.
All right, well, we're getting ready to ask you a question about that episode. Are you ready?
Okay.
I feel like we need like Jeopardy music. The thing about it is I actually don't remember any of this. I'm just calling Tim out because it was fun to do. The episode covered bands, of course. Of course, before Sammy Hagar, David Lee Roth, Van Halen. Briefly featured a singer called Gary, Tim knows this, Sharon. Which, fuck this, you should know this. Metal band was Sharon originally from? Come on, Tim, I'm
It's
throwing you a bone here.
Extreme.
Extreme!
Can you name all the members of Extreme?
Absolutely not.
We got Pat Badger on the bass. I mean, it's all going on. Gary Sharon,
I cannot.
Paul
All I
Gary,
think of
original
is
drummer.
Every person who was in the 90s thought they could play every Extreme song on guitar. That's all I know.
Yeah, I think when I was designing that episode, Van Halen was the main band I was thinking of. Because they started off with David Lee
Absolutely.
Roth, then they went to Sammy Hagar, then they went to Gary Sharon, and then they went to Sammy Hagar, and then they went to David Lee Roth again. And they
Of
also
course.
auditioned a singer called Mitch Malloy just before they got involved with Gary Sharon, and he was given the gig, and then the record company struck that decision down.
Okay, well, I would not know all of that. All I know from Extreme is they sing more than words, and I like Jack Black's version.
I will tell
And every
you,
person-
Nuno Betancourt, the guitar player from Extreme, is probably the finest rock guitar player out there at the moment.
I
Getting it
have
done.
heard you say that many times before. The thing about Extreme is they're very. Well, do you find? I mean, I find them to be like a four-hit wonder.
They have such good music. I mean,
But you went to their concert recently.
yeah, and also their album Extreme 2 Porno Graffiti is superb. Three Sides to Every Story is really good. I mean, they have such a huge discography, but all people know them for is More Than Words. And More Than Words was a complete anomaly because they play hard rock music, not acoustic music.
I say it's not even that great of a song. The
No.
funny part about it was one of the funniest situations that has ever happened in my life, guys. So when I lived in Utah, I was still in college and I did transfer back and forth. I didn't officially graduate from this college, but I took all my credits back with me and I graduated from Bradford University, which is very close to me and where Tim live. It doesn't matter. But when I was in Utah, I was still going to school because I took my education very seriously and that's what I wanted to do. And I had to take this stupid philosophy class at like 9 a.m. every Saturday because unfortunately, Tim, I worked full time through college. That's just who I was. That's what I had to do. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I had to take classes on Saturdays. It's not for the weak of heart to have to wake up every Saturday and 7 a.m. and go to and it was a 4 hour block. It was one day a week, it was 4 hours. So first of all, that class was torture to begin with. But I really did enjoy my professor. She was very fun. And I always laughed because she was making a lot of jokes that I appreciated. It sounded like she was really into music and like pop culture and stuff. And one time she made a joke about and she's the reason that I knew that Sublime had a version of Rivers of Babylon, and I'll get into that in a minute. I never heard that version, didn't know it existed to this professor. But with that being said, she made a joke one time about when she was in college in the 90s, every white guy with a guitar was playing More Than Words Extreme, and they had an anarchy tattoo on their ankle, which I thought was very funny because guess who has an anarchy tattoo on their ankle, Tim?
Could that be Charles?
My husband!
Yay!
So he always stuck out to me that she thought it was very funny. But she was so very into music and very like artistically in tuned. And so she had, well, we were doing different things. She led us to very like acoustic or like fun things. And so I remember she did one thing where I don't exactly remember what the project was. Don't remember all the details. But one guy came in and him and his friend came in and they did the Rivers of Babylon version from Sublime. And that's the only reason I knew it existed. I feel like I'm the only person in the world who even knows Sublime of all bands as a River of Babylon, right, Tim? Like it just like it's a very weird thing to even know. And if you don't know, the funny part about Rivers of Babylon, the other controversially popular band that did it was
Well, I know
they did
Boney M, obviously.
I was going to say Boney M. Like, and then, and the thing about Rivers of Babylon is it was also a religious song before that. There's a lot of fun, different pieces into it. I really appreciate, and actually, controversially, I love Sublime. My favorite Sublime song is Rivers of Babylon. So that always stood out to me. And so I always think, and maybe this is just a dumb thing. It's just a very specific, like, nuance. I cannot think of Extreme and More Than Words without thinking of her. And then weirdly enough, it morphs into Rivers of Babylon and White Men with Anarchy Tattoos, which is my husband, who does not play the guitar, though he does play the violin, if anybody was wondering.
Oh, I mean, it's not super far away from playing the guitar. Playing the violin is significantly more difficult than playing the guitar, so it wouldn't take him long to move into the guitar sphere if he wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about it is Charlie is very like, I don't know, ambidextrous or like very like able to like have better hand-eye coordination than I ever have in my entire life. So I promise you, Tim, if you put it in front of him, he'd probably do it in like 5 seconds. He probably would. It would just be getting him to sit down and do it for 30 seconds because Tim knows as much as I do. My husband is a classic case of ADHD if you've ever met him for 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, back to the episode. But that's my whole history of that whole situation. All right, Tim, you and me question on another episode that you did and or you probably don't remember you did it. This is fun, though. I love this because I was like, I'm going to give him some music trivia. Let's see if he knows it. And I'm like, I'm going to hit him with episode. It was kind of really fun, though, to go through our different episodes. But to be honest with you, Tim, I don't even remember some of these episodes myself. It's been so many years. All right. Do you remember Shuffling Good?
Yes, that was an episode where we both pulled up our music services or music libraries of choice, and then we both shuffled, and then we spoke about what ones came up. In fact, we're probably overdue another revisit to Shuffling Good at some point soon.
It's true. Now, this is an easy one, Tim, but it is an artist I just kind of want to talk about because it's an artist I love. We both apparently, I hit on a track. Tim did hit on the track. Joy hit on this track. It's The Clash. And that kind of surprised him because he didn't know I was a big Clash fan. I'm not a huge Clash fan, but I do like them. And then, what was their famous album for? So they had a double album. It was called The Greatest Album of All Time. It's from 1979. What do you think it was, Tim?
London Calling.
It was Lindy Calling. What was Lindy calling? Who were they calling? The faraway people or something? I don't know what the song said.
Something like that. I mean, the Clash were a band that were making social statements long before anyone else was doing that. So they were into social justice. They were into all that kind of stuff. So they were making a big statement, I'm sure.
What I do enjoy about them, and the reason I wanted to bring this up is mostly so I could just banter back and forth to you about the Clash, is that while I do love a good pop, I talked to him about Bikini Kill. I love a good punk rock sound and like a very intense, even if you're looking at like things like this. And I mean, I love the Ramones, I love the Clash, but what I really enjoy about the Clash is like, and maybe controversially, this will not make any sense to anybody but me, is I really like their sound because it's not just punk rock. It sounds interesting. Punk rock sometimes, like if you listen to like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols, Sex Pistols specifically, I do not care for the Sex Pistols, Tim. I never will. I don't like their music. I can't listen to it. It's boring to me.
Well, what it is like a musical form of anarchy. And it was designed by Malcolm McLaren to sound exactly like that. It was supposed to incite rebellion. It's supposed to sound like that. It's supposed to be slightly out of tune. It's supposed to be slightly out of time with lyrics that are shouted at you because it was a movement. It was a social movement. It was designed to be like that. And
I just can't do it.
Yeah, but it's not for everyone.
It isn't. And so I love a good pop and I punk rock music. I love the Clash, but controversially, like what Tim was just saying, is that it sounds more digestible from the people, right? It does. It does. And like even Bikini Kill is very grunt and in your face, but it's not that intense. I don't know what it is about the Sex Pistols. Also, though, I learned about them a lot as people, and they weren't great people.
No, absolutely not. I mean, when Malcolm McLaren put it together, I mean, he just put together people who had the right attitude, not necessarily musician skills. I mean, Sid Vicious couldn't even play the bass.
He's also a jerk and did a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Generally not good people, but you know, it was a thing. It was a happening. It was a whole movement.
They're literally like, you know, what's the funny part about that is you just made a point about this, Tim, that I want to put onto this podcast. Everybody who's listening officially here now. The funny part about it is that they were manufactured, whether people want to talk about it or they don't. Why do we only talk about the manufacturing of like the Spice Girls when literally the Sex Pistols were manufactured?
Yeah, as was Boney M and a number of acts like that.
It's almost like it's because it was pop music and sexism. I said what I said.
I think it's probably because it's pop rather than quote unquote rock music.
Yeah, why do you think that? I'm sorry, I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call it out for what it is. The funny part is that like Tim just brought out something that I knew, but I just will say that I have never went out of my way to listen to the Sex Pistols. I just haven't. And also, if you go back and look at them, you know, we joke about on this podcast many times, Tim, what is Elton John, not Elton John, John Lennon, not Elton John. Elton's not done well. He probably has punched somebody in the face, but not what I was going to say. John Lennon punched people in the face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Times in a row. He was not a good person. So, controversially, just because someone, or the Sex Pistols, just because they're in a band doesn't mean they're good people, Tim.
No.
Also, that one was, why does no one ever talk about the fact that they were manufactured? Wait, you just brought up something that is mind-blowing to me. Because, you know, we talk about all these manufactured bands, but no one ever talked about the fact that the Sex Pistols were manufactured.
Yeah, I said Malcolm McLaren put that whole thing together.
Why do you think that, like, controversially, no one ever speaks of it?
I mean, they do in some degree, I suppose.
But it doesn't get the same kind of like, oh, it's a manufactured band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tim's face when I did that voice. He was like, where did that come from, Joy? All right, let's go back to them. I just have a lot to say about the fact that I think there's just so much sexism around the fact that the Spice Girls are always, they're a manufactured band, right, Tim? But like the Sex Pistols were manufactured.
But by the same token, people say the same thing about, I don't know, Brother Beyond, NSYNC, any of those kind of bands.
Fine, whatever. All right, let's go back to the episode. We're almost probably, how much time do we have, Tim?
I think we have time for one more.
Oh, all right. Well, I have two more. And if we go through it fast, we'll go to the next one. But there is two more. And there's specific two episodes. I do find it fun. The music of Hall of Oates. Have you heard of that band before? Do you remember that episode?
Absolutely. We called Call and Oates when we did it.
Joe picked the topic, of course. Hall and Oates are kind of, Blue-Eyed Soul, whatever. What was the name of their debut 1972 album that leaned the most? And it's kind of more of what they knew. It was more obscure folk pop before they became pop rock. Do you know what they came out in 1972, Tim, was?
I know it's not Abandoned Luncheonette Diner, because that's another one of their albums.
It's ridiculous. It's Whole Oats.
I was about to say, it was that. I was about to say, I think it was the self-titled album.
All right. That's ridiculous to me that they had an album called Whole Oats. I'm going to do the last one because I just think it's funny because it was one of your episodes, House Music.
Okay.
And our House Music episode, when this Chicago club is widely credited as the birthplace of house music, where DJ Frankie Knuckles held his residency. Do you know what it is? This didn't come in the episode, but I do find it interesting because it was house music and I wanted to bring it up. You probably don't know, but I'm curious to know.
No, I'll be honest. I do not know that one.
I want to know. It's called The Warehouse.
Okay. Because certainly dance music used to have warehouse parties where what they used to do was break into a disused industrial unit and host a rave in there and then disappear before the police got there.
I absolutely think that's probably where it came from. But yeah, that's what it was. So the moral of the story is I gave Tim a little bit of things I thought he would know at the beginning, did a little bit of music, and then I moved to do our podcast. So I thought it was fun because me and Tim have been doing this, 6+ years now?
Yep.
I thought it'd be fun to see how much we remember from our own. I was like, let's give him some music trivia. He knows all the basics. Let's move into, and then I was like, I'm going to trick him. Let's move into our own episodes. He did pretty well, though. He did pretty well. With that being said, Tim, that was fun. There is possibly another episode that may get into the B side because we have so many episodes now. It's crazy. Doing the research for this episode blew my mind. It was like, have we done that many episodes? But I guess we have.
I mean, if you're doing it for almost 6 years and one a week, it soon adds up. It's 270 something episodes we've done so far.
I love it. All right. Well, we're going to keep doing these episodes. We may talk about this in the near future again. It was fun. I was like, I'm going to trick Tim, give us some music nuggets, get on my good side, and then I'm going to be like, bam, 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 here's the episode. All right. With that being said, what would you like to tell the people?
Just be kind to everyone that you meet.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.